are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come, I am filled with wonder. Sometimes I think I him see eternity. You raise me up. I can stand on mountains. The stormy sea, and I am strong when I am on your shoulder. Oh, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be. I got the call this morning. I can't believe he's gone. Thought he'd be here forever. But one more time proved me wrong. It was just a week ago. Thought I should call and say hello. Now I'm reminded once again, life's a vapor in the wind. Love the people that God gives you. They're a gift that heaven sent. Live and laugh and make some memories. Treasure every moment spent. 'Cause none of us are here forever. That's a proven fact. Love the people that God gives you. 'Cause one day he'll want them back. Each day the mirror tells the story. I wonder where the time is gone. Children laughing round the table now have children of their own. There may be things you need to say, so while today is still today, you have the chance to hold them close. One more chance to let them know. Love the people that God gives you. They're a gift that heaven sent. Live and laugh and make some memories. Treasure every moment spent. 'Cause none of us are here forever. That's a proven fact. Love the people that God gives you. 'Cause one day he'll want them back. The angels were assembled before the throne, singing songs of worship to the Lord alone. They cried, holy, holy, the heavens filled with glory. But they had to step aside when they heard a song arise. It made the Father smile to see his child step forth and start to sing. Redeemed, I am redeemed. The greatest song this mortal tongue can sing. Redeemed, I am redeemed. I once was lost, but now I'm found. His love has turned my life around. Amazing grace has saved a wretch like me. I am redeemed. I'm redeemed. I am redeemed. The greatest song this mortal tongue can sing. Redeemed, I am redeemed. I once was lost, but now I'm found. His love has turned my life around. Amazing grace has saved a wretch like me. I am redeemed by love divine. Glory, glory, Christ is mine. He is mine. I am redeemed. I am redeemed. The greatest song this mortal tongue can sing. Redeemed, I am redeemed.
We've had a change to the order. The folks to do the military honors are here now, and they have another service to go to. So we have put them up at the start of our service, and so I invite them to begin right now. We have two almost completely empty rows up front, actually close to three. If some of you in the back would like to move forward and sit in the pew or in the chairs up front, I'd invite you to come and do that right now. This would be a good time to do that. And as I do that, I'd like to introduce the Southeast Texas Dulcimer Group. Thank you very much. I know Van would have loved that. I'll begin with a reading from 1 John 4. Dear friends, let's love each other because love is from God. And everyone who loves is born from God and knows God. The person who does not love does not know God because God is love. This is how the love of God is revealed to us. God has sent his only Son into the world so that we can live through him. This is love. It's not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as a sacrifice that deals with our sins. Dear friends, if God loved us this way, we also ought to love each other. If we love each other, God remains in us, and his love is made perfect in us. Friends, we've gathered here today to worship God and to witness to our faith as we celebrate the life of Van Philip Hunt. We come together acknowledging the pain of losing someone so very special to so many. We come asking God to grant us grace so that we might find comfort and hope and life. I invite Rick Tate, the pastor here, to please come forward. As he's making his way up here, I want to express the gratitude of the family to Rick for allowing us to kind of take this place over, and he very graciously let the family put together this service and graciously is participating as well.
If you'll bow with me, we'll go to God in prayer. God of love, we thank you for all with which you have blessed us even to this day. The gift of joy and days of health and strength, and for the gifts of your abiding presence and promise in days of pain and grief. We praise you for home and friends and for our baptism and place in your church with all who have faithfully lived and died. Above all else, we thank you for Jesus, who knew our griefs, who died our death and rose for our sake, and who lives and prays for us. And as he taught us, so now we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. For the past 4 years, I have had the blessing to be Van and Mary Beth Hunt's pastor and part of their family as pastor and friend here at First United Methodist Church here in Buna. Now, as a clergy person in our tradition, in the United Methodist Church, we are a part of what is called the itinerancy, moving from place to place every few years through the guidance and direction of the Holy Spirit and the leadership of the church. We're sent out to serve God and our neighbor within our connectional system, seeking as best we can to offer our gifts and graces to the community of faith. And as I've moved from place to place, I have found it interesting and yet understandable that a pastor has different relationships with each individual and family to whom we have been called to serve. Many people remain just a name listed on a membership roll who for different reasons are not involved in the life of the church. And some you know by name and by the relationship you have with them as their pastor. And some keep you at arm's length, preferring a strictly professional relationship with you as clergy and parishioner. Some you work with frequently within the life of the church through their participation in worship and its varying ministries. Some, only a very few, are like Van and Mary Beth Hunt. And it just seems natural to mention Mary Beth when I speak of Van, because they have been truly united together in every way through their decades of marriage and work and ministry in this church family and within the Buna community. Van and Mary Beth are some of the few who not only welcome the pastor into the church as their spiritual leader, but also as their friend. They open their hearts and their homes in the circle of their family. And they encircle you as well, allowing you to feel that at least for them and among them, you matter. You belong. You're important. You're a family. And you have found a home with them as well. I've been blessed to sit at their table in their home on many occasions. I have been there on special occasions in the life of our church and their broader family, listening to the dulcimer group as they would play the music of a tradition that beckons us back to a place in time when life was slower and gentler and more in tune with the rhythms of life as it was meant to be lived. To take the time to be still, to take the time to listen, to take the time to share in food and fellowship and music and laughter, to take the time to experience the simple joys of life, always remembering that the invisible presence is always a guest whenever we gather together. And at this moment and in this place, we acknowledge his presence in our midst. The Lord my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me down to lie. In pastures green he leadeth me, the quiet waters by. He leadeth me, the quiet waters by. In pastures green he leadeth me, the quiet waters by. My soul he doth restore again, and me to walk doth make. Within the paths of blessedness, in for his own name's sake. His own name's sake, his own name's sake, in for his own name's sake. Within the paths of blessedness, in for his own name's sake. Yea, though I walk in death's dark vale, yet will I feel no ill. For thou art with me, and thy rod and staff me comfort still. I'll fear no ill, I'll fear no ill, yet will I fear no ill. For thou art with me, and thy rod and staff me comfort still. My table thou hast furnished well in presence of my foes. My head thou dost with oil anoint, and my cup overflows. It overflows. It overflows. And my cup overflows. My head thou dost anoint with oil, and my cup overflows. Goodness and mercy all my days will surely follow me. And in my Father's heart always my dwelling place shall be. My dwelling place, my dwelling place, my dwelling place shall be. And in my Father's heart always my dwelling place shall be.
Thank you, Rick. Now we're going to have some members of the family come up and share some of their thoughts. Eric, would you please come?
Wow, what a crowd. What a crowd. Okay, this is supposed to be a celebration, so y'all want to clap, cheer, yell, do something, help me get through this. All right, there you go. The baby boy is the theme of my message today. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Eric. I'm more commonly referred to by my dad as his baby boy. My siblings asked me to speak on behalf of our family. What an honor that is, and I hope I don't mess up. And first of all, thank all you guys for coming. Thanks for the food, the calls, the texts, the prayers, the music, the help in preparation for all this, all the wonderful comments about our dad. And it's just blown us away. You know, we always knew he touched a lot of lives, but never really fathomed how far that reached. Now, I can speak for my family, but only through my own experiences and observations, but I feel they will be able to relate. I hope so. So I want to talk to you about our family. You see, my dad didn't have much of a family growing up. He was the only child, and both his parents died at an early age. But he made it a priority to have a close, loving family and grow it as large as he could. He did that, and to him, that was his biggest accomplishment. But when you became part of his family by blood, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, it didn't matter. No matter what happened, you were stuck. It was kind of like the mafia, and he was a godfather. Of course, there was no killing and surely no riches, obviously. So anyway, the thing is, no one ever wanted out because of him. I mean, everybody, you know, he made you feel a part of his family, and nobody wanted to leave. I mean, I even got a couple ex-wives here today that can testify to his love for extended family, right? Okay, so not something I'm proud of, but anyway. He also had a church family and a community family that was just as loved. Like I said, he wanted it as large as he could get it. He protected us. He kept us close in his heart. And as a result, we stayed close in proximity. I think our furthest family member of 36 only lives 50 miles away. The thing is, no one ever wanted to be far from him. Every person in our family, I know you guys can relate to this, every person in our family feared disappointing him. And just when you thought that you had, guess what? He never said anything but encouraging words. Strong and steady, offering wisdom, yet strong and gentle, all at the same time. He just had a way like that, and that's the quality that I will remember most about my dad. I thank him for mentoring and molding me like no other in my life. I wrote in a recent birthday card to him about how he influenced most of my daily decisions. I was always thinking, WWDD, what would Daddy do? That's very powerful to me, and I'm sure that my family feels the same. So the Hunt family, y'all better step it up, because he's got a much better seat now, and we know he's going to be watching. So, and he was very, very proud of his family, never hesitated to show it or say it, and he was always our biggest fan. A recent example of this, I was visiting him just a few weeks ago, and he was trying to tell one of his caregivers something, and he was so weak and could barely talk and kept saying it over and over again, and we finally figured out he was saying, "This is my baby boy, and he can save you some money on your insurance." And I probably can. There's quote sheets in the back if y'all will fill one out before you leave. I'm just kidding about that. But I'm going to tell you what, I've adopted his strategy of treating every one of my customers like my family, and that has been my most successful tool. And I thank you for that, Dad. My most memorable times with him were spent at the dinner table. We all sat down together to eat at least every evening and after church on Sunday. Usually his farm produced everything on that small, sturdy table. Thank you, Mom, for all the meals too. It was crowded. Someone spilled something every single meal. And he always jumped up. He'd say a mild 4-letter word, go back to eating. So anyway. But the love experienced and the stories told at that table will bless me forever. Sorry. Baby boy, like I said, is how he always introduced me. And to be honest, that embarrassed me for a long time. Probably until I was in my mid-30s. And you know what? I finally realized he's doing that out of pride, and I couldn't wait to hear it. I know he's in heaven. I just hope that he's listening right now. And he can proclaim, my baby boy gets it. I love you, Dad.
Thank you, Eric. Karen, did you have some? Oh, Dusty's next. All right, come on up, Dusty. This is one of Van's grandsons, his oldest grandchild.
That was going to be hard to follow, Eric. Last time I tried to do this was at a wedding. It didn't turn out so well. So y'all bear with me. Like Kevin said, my name is Dusty Wheeler. I was the first grandson. So I have the bragging rights to be the number one grandson, is what he called me. I'm gonna share a few memories with y'all. I could write you a book, but I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest form of it. So growing up, I remember spending many days of the summer at our grandparents' farm. We would always start the summer off with a camping trip to Boykin Springs. This was a tradition from when my mother was growing up and kept it going once we were old enough to go. There are so many great memories from these camping trips. One particular memory of mine is one time when we got there, we went to set up the tent, and Papa realized he forgot the tent stakes in Buna. And I'm sure he said, well, darn, but it probably wasn't darn. And he just wanted to go home, but we made the best of it. There was no Walmart. There was no going to get more tent stakes. We weren't going back to Buna. So we just slept on the tent underneath the stars. When we got older, Papa decided one summer he was going to load us up in the old 86 Chevy Suburban and head out for Red River, New Mexico. In just a couple of weeks, I was talking to him about that. We were reminiscing on this trip, and he laughed, and he looked at me, and he said, I don't know what I was thinking, taking you kids on that trip. We drove all the way to the Panhandle in one day and ended up sleeping in the Suburban in a hotel parking lot because all the rooms were full. We froze our tails off. He told me, he said, I could still hear you and John. Papa, I'm cold. Nanny used to get on to us all the time when we'd go to town because Papa couldn't pass up getting a Fosto's burger or stopping at Dorsey's Cafe. He'd always look at us boys and say, now don't you tell Nanny. And we'd eat what she had when we got back to the house, too. We picked our share of peas. We made many trips to farmer's market at 3 a.m. in that old Chevy Big 10. I always liked to go because he'd buy me a cinnamon roll from the food truck. I don't know what I was thinking at 3 a.m., just getting a cinnamon roll. I never had the privilege to have my papa as a science teacher. He retired the year before I would have had him. But he taught me how to work hard, to be honest, the value of a man's word, the value of family, and always finding time to help others. He taught me how important it was to have faith in the Lord, to know Jesus, and to have him in my heart. He would always say, if you can't find time to do something right the first time, when are you going to have time to fix it? Throughout his battle with cancer, he never lost faith in the Lord. He never once felt sorry for himself, nor was he bitter. He considered himself to be one of the most blessed individuals on this earth because he had his family. My papa was like a father to me. The memories I have with him will be cherished the rest of my life. And today I can't help but smile and know without a doubt that he is in heaven playing his golden harmonica. To the man that taught me many life lessons, I was the one that was blessed to have you in my life. I love you, and we'll see you again someday.
John, you next. So this is the second oldest grandson.
Number 2. All right, I got a couple of stories that I wanted to share, just things that come to mind. And it starts with my papa from grandson number 2. I always enjoyed going to town with papa, whether going to Ace Hardware, Kane's Grocery, or the drugstore to drink coffee. Papa was always so selfless in thinking of others, worried that something might happen to him while he was driving around the road in the truck. He would always say to me, if anything happens to me, put the gear shift in neutral, turn the ignition off, and steer the vehicle to the side of the road. And we actually did that trial run a few times to make sure it would work, and it did. I can always remember the summer days we'd spend getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning, loading the truck to go to farmer's market in Beaumont. One time I'll never forget, we had gotten there, unloaded and set everything up, and Papa had me start running the unshelled peas through the pea sheller. When I got finished shelling my bushel, I was cleaning up the peas that didn't go into the pan by thumping them in the rollers. And on the last one, I was a little too close to the rollers, and my finger fed into the pea sheller. I squealed, and Papa ran over and quickly unplugged the machine. Taking a look at this situation, he said, there's only one way it's going to come out, and it's going to hurt. But we've got to roll the pulley backwards, and so that he did. Meanwhile, all the little old ladies at the market came running over, giving me attention with drinks, ice bags for my finger, making a fuss over me. After things kind of settled down, Papa looked over at me to try to make me laugh and feel better, and he said, Johnny boy, you sure know how to get those ladies' attention. And he said, plug that thing back up. I think I'll stick my finger in it. To the greatest man I've ever known, you will forever be missed. I love you, Papa.
Thank you, John. Karen, his eldest child, is going to come say a few words now.
I wasn't sure if I could do this or not, but I decided this morning that I needed to. There's just so many things to learn from Daddy's life. And I just want to share a little glimpse of what it was like to have our daddy as a father. He was so good with words, we could always count on him to pop out a poem, come up with a joke or a story. When we were young, at bedtime, we'd call either of our parents in to listen to our prayers. Then we'd beg for a story. We'd count on hearing some kind of exciting adventure from our daddy's childhood, whether it was when he was watching an airplane fly low and it crashed into the field next to him. He was hit by a piece of the propeller and had that scar. I don't know if you ever noticed that. He could tell that story so well. Or it was the time that it was cold December and his buddies, Bugs and Bill Satterwhite, were at the San Gabriel River and said, "Hey, let's go swimming." Stripped off all their clothes, jumped into the river, and Daddy replied, "No, it's too cold." Well, he got tagged with the name. Well, they first called him Too Cold. That turned into Tico. And the cousins will attest they still call him Uncle Tico. Daddy loved to brag on his family. He lifted each one up for their particular gifts, and he would do this in our presence and in the presence of others. Whether he realized it or not, this gave us an inner strength to live up to our potential because he saw and affirmed our strengths in front of others. One of his favorite stories to tell in later years, I'd like to share on his behalf. So when we had company come to our house, Daddy would usually take them around the house, show them off all the beautiful things that Mother had created, and then he'd get to the piano room and he would say, tell them about Julie and I taking piano lessons, and he'd say, "Karen, come play the entertainer or a piece on the piano." And I would, but as I got to be a teenager, I'd often balk at his request, rolling my eyes to myself. "Not again, Daddy. This is embarrassing." But I'd give in to his pleadings. As most of you know, Daddy played the harmonica very well, and our family enjoyed sitting around with him on the harmonica, Mama on the auto harp. The four of us kids would have a pair of spoons, and we'd have a family jam time, singing songs like Crawdad Hole and Hill Rattler, Old Dan Tucker, and Hank Williams tunes like Your Cheating Heart, and others that Daddy would surprisingly come out with. So when I was in my early 30s and playing piano for church, I decided it was time for my daddy to accompany me on his harmonica in church. So I asked him if he would. He loved playing along with songs at home, but he answered my request with, "Oh, honey, I can't get up in front of all those people. No, I can't do that." Then I reminded him, "Now, Daddy, you made me play for all the company when I was growing up. And now I want you to play for the Lord." Then, feeling like I had to give it another punch, I said, "Anyway, I already told the pastor we'd do this, and it's printed in the bulletin." And so he did. And as most of you know the rest of the story, he overcame his fear and began using his musical gift to bless others in worship, at funerals, nursing homes, and community events. We all had the opportunity to learn our daddy would come looking for us. This is the second story I'm going to tell you. If we didn't come home when we were supposed to. I found it very embarrassing when I was hanging out with friends and Daddy and my siblings came pulling up in the Western Auto parking lot one night in the huge brown Super Cab pickup truck. They were all looking out the windows at everybody. I had missed the appointed time to pick up Julie after a ball game, and she had called them. I didn't find it so embarrassing one night when my car broke down on the dark road, Bessemer Road, around midnight. In fact, I was so grateful to see his headlights coming around the curve at 4 a.m. and rescue me from my ice-covered car in that dark, scary situation. A lot goes through your mind. I jumped out of the car and hugged him and was so grateful he had come looking for me. You don't often realize the value of these sorts of lessons at the time, but years later, you realize what a blessing it was to have a daddy who wanted to keep his children safe. Each of us, kids and grandkids, have their own personal Papa rescue stories. Julie even got a brief moment of notoriety as a missing Buna girl when she didn't come home one night. And Mom and Daddy couldn't find her. She had spent the night with a friend and failed to communicate that. So the moral of the story is, through Daddy's affirmation and encouragement and knowing what he would do to find us when we had lost our way, we knew we were valued and loved dearly. I share these stories with you today on his behalf, but from my perspective, he would tell them in humor and we would have a good laugh. But I tell them today because of the lessons I learned from them and how it changed my life.
Brentley, were you going to say a word? And before, is there anyone else after Brentley? All right.
No, I got a Bible with me, but I'm not going to preach, so don't worry. I just wanted to share with y'all a few things that I'm going to miss the most about Papaw. One of them is him being on the phone whenever him and Nanny would call for our to tell us happy birthday and sing the happy birthday song, him being in the background singing in his deep voice. He was always on there. And I'm going to miss calling for garden advice and tips to be able to work in the garden. And you'd always be on the phone and Papa would be in the background hollering to you about what to tell me or give me certain advice. And y'all would be going back and forth trying to figure out what the best thing to do or advice to give me on something like that. Another thing I'm going to miss is every time you would go over there to visit with them or anything like that, as soon as you would go to leave, Papa would always grab your hand and he would pull you in and tell you about how blessed you were and remind you about all of your blessings in your life. And he never failed to mention it wasn't always the material things in life. It was always you have a beautiful family or a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. It never was about anything material or anything like that in life. It was always those more special things to him that he would make sure that you knew how blessed you were. I've got a couple of verses that I'm going to read that remind me of him and the type of life he lived and the man that he was. I couldn't settle on one of them, so I got two. First one is Psalm chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stands in the way of the sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Got one more. This is from Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. It's a good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. If you was to ask Papa right now, he would tell you about how many blessings he has here on earth and about all the good times. But I guarantee you that if you could ask him right now, he would say that his best day here on earth doesn't even compare to the day that he got to be with Jesus and he went to be with him. So. And Nanny, thank you for being there by his side whenever he needed you the most and being his rock. You're a very special woman. So, they had to twist my arm to get me to sing this, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Emily, forgive me. So this is a song that Papa used to sing to us. Everybody right over here knows this song. And I sing it to Baylor and Finley all the time. And every time that I sing it to them, I picture Papa singing it to me in my mind. And he's right there. It's just like whenever I was a little boy, every single time. So sing along if y'all want to. So maybe y'all. So it goes like this. Put your seatbelt on when you get in the car. If you don't, you'll have a wreck and it'll throw you very far. I'm so glad I heard what you said, 'cause I don't want a big knot on my head.
Thank you, Brentley.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, spring in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden so plain. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. In the bowl there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, what it holds a mystery, and revealed until its season, something God alone can see. In our end is our beginning, in our time infinity. In our doubt there is believing, in our life eternity. In our death a resurrection, and at last a victory, unrevealed until its season,
That's beautiful. When I think about Van, quite a few Bible readings jump into my mind right away, and I'm going to share a couple of those with you this morning. First is Psalm 128. See if you can relate any of this to Mr. Van Hunt. Everyone who honors the Lord, who walks in God's ways, is truly happy. You will definitely enjoy what you've worked hard for. You'll be happy, and things will go well for you. In your house, your wife will be like a vine full of fruit. All around your table, your children will be like olive trees freshly planted. That's how it goes. For anyone who honors the Lord, they will be blessed. May the Lord bless you. May you experience goodness your whole life long, and may you see your grandchildren. From Ephesians 4, a couple of verses. Don't let any foul words come out of your mouth, except maybe some minor ones around the dinner table when Eric spills the milk. Only say what is helpful when it's needed for building up the community so that it benefits those who hear what you say. Put aside all bitterness, losing your temper, anger, shouting, and slander, along with every other evil. Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving to each other in the same way God forgave you in Christ. And then from Colossians 3, a couple of verses. As God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Compassionate, kind, humble, gentle, patient, forgiving, loving. According to the Bible, these words define what a Christian should be like. These very words define Van Hunt. He wasn't the type to speak foul words for effect or to emphasize his point. That's easy. It's lazy. Instead, Van chose to think before he spoke. And because he did, he had a gift for saying things that were helpful to others. He avoided bitterness and conflict, if at all possible, and was a master at maintaining his composure. So it wasn't his way to lose his temper, and it certainly wasn't his way to shout or slander anyone. Van's way was to forgive. His way was to consider other people. His way was to realize he had no idea what someone else might have gone through. So he was gracious. So as the Bible encourages us, Van was quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to grow angry. I can't tell you how many times I heard him say, you should never go to bed angry. He claimed he never did. He said he and Mary Beth may have stood out in the front yard arguing all night several times, but he never went to bed angry. Eric and Karen and the grandchildren spoke very well about the family and about their experiences. They did a wonderful job. I was blessed to become a part of the family through Karen in 2001. And Van, because of the love that I saw in him, Van had a very immediate positive impact on my life. God blessed me through him, and God continued to bless me through his loving ways right up till he went home to heaven. Thankfully, because of Van's loving, faithful legacy, those blessings haven't stopped. That phone might soon. Hopefully yours won't go off. But those blessings have not stopped. I'll be blessed by the lessons he passed on to me and to his family and to the others he knew for as long as I live. Mary Beth was blessed to share life with Van. 3/4 of her life she lived with that man. That's a long time. Nearly 66 years. The thing is, they were just as much in love during this last year, and maybe even more than they were their very first year of marriage. Van and Mary Beth went way back to their college days. That's where it all got started at Southwestern University. It got started one day while they were standing in line to register for classes. Mary Beth took one look at him and decided it was time to hit on him. I mean, she took one look at him and decided he was a man who needed her help personally. She suggested that he consider the teaching field, and that set the direction for the rest of their lives. And Van loved to brag on Mary Beth. As Karen mentioned, when people came into their home, he would tell all about the things that she'd painted, about the stained glass things she'd done, about all of her other creative works of art. One day he was going on and on. She told him to stop. She said, people probably get tired of hearing you say, this is what my wife made. And look over here, she made this too. Van told her, well, that makes me look good because I picked you for my wife. He was very proud of her and her talents, which are many. And every time they came home from a class reunion, Van bragged about how all the other guys were there with really old, wrinkled up women on walkers. But he was there with young, vibrant Mary Beth, who still stands on her head 5 minutes every morning, walks 3.5 miles a day, exercises. Would you like to show them? Or, no. Their love never fades. And it was passed in their grandkids and their great-grandkids and the great-great-grandkids. At least one of them is on the way right now. Being part of the family through the years, I've seen the love they have for each other. It's a love that began with Van and Mary's commitment to love each other for better or for worse. But it's far bigger than that. It's a love humans can't muster up on their own. It's a love that can only come when committed people of faith rely on Jesus to help them. The love Van and Mary Beth shared and the life they established together obviously wasn't perfect, but they were continually trying to do better as they grew closer to Jesus. Their kids, of course, aren't perfect either, except for my wife, Karen. They've all made mistakes. When they were young, they made a lot of kid-type mistakes. Van said he never did know what he was going to find when he came home. Driving up to the house after work, one day it was a chicken running all over the yard with an arrow through it. Another day it was a house filled with the smell of a skunk that the boys had brought inside and it sprayed. Another day, Van found the boys trying to free one of his calves they accidentally strung up and nearly choked to death when they were practicing roping. Another day, the boys had 2 red-tailed hawk hatchlings they brought down from a nest 100 feet high in a pine tree. Another day, it was a buzzard. The 4 kids caught it down by the road, carried it back home, put it in the rabbit's cage because they thought they'd got themselves a turkey. Another day, Van came home to find his plum tree stripped bare. Plums are busted and broken up all over the ground because the kids had a war and used them as ammunition. I imagine there were days Van didn't want to go home, scared of what he might find, but he did. There were probably plenty of nights he didn't want to get out of bed, as Karen mentioned, go looking for his kids, but he did every time. Like the good shepherd going after one of his lost sheep, Van found them and brought them home. And on every opportunity they gave him, and it sounds to me like there were plenty, Van lovingly taught his kids a lesson. It usually came with softly spoken, understanding words. But sometimes, especially for the boys, it came with a belt. And even on those occasions, tender words of love and hugs followed the whipping. Of course, the kids grew up, and then they made adult-type mistakes. The belt wasn't an option then, but Van still offered tender, loving words and concern and encouragement and wise advice to his grown kids. He did it with hugs. Sometimes he did it through tears. And when he finished, they never wanted to disappoint him again. It was the same for the grandkids. But what mattered to Van far more than anything else, far more than any of his grandchildren's or his children or grandchildren's mistakes, what mattered to him far more than that was their desire to learn and grow and improve and live together in love, and then to share that with others. Van shared his love with others as a science teacher. He truly cared about his students, and they knew it. They could tell by the way he taught, by the way he spoke to them, by the way he showed an interest in their personal lives. Because Van's students knew he cared about them personally, they became very fond of him. It wasn't unusual for Van to get a phone call or a letter from one of his students many years later after they'd graduated and gone on with their lives. That happened again very recently. And his former students always expressed how grateful they were, not just for his teaching, but for the type of man he was and for the humble, kind example he set. One former student wrote about how his time in Van's class helped him gain courage and confidence. He thanked Van for setting a patriotic example that taught him to love his country. And he thanked Van for the positive impact he had on his life, which has now impacted his 3 children, his co-workers, his friends, and people around the world. Van taught science. He taught it very well, but he taught a whole lot more than that. For some, he was the teacher who got them interested in science and set them on their course for life. For some, during the year they were in his science class, he was the only person in their lives who they knew really, truly cared about them. And for all, he set that humble, kind, caring example. When people know you really care, you can make a real difference in their lives. So many people around this community know Van Hunt, and they know he cared about them. They'll never forget his kind words, his wise advice, his encouragement. Many people remember his welcoming spirit when they were brand new to the community. They'll never forget the day they met Van, how he smiled and began speaking to them. He asked about their lives. He asked about their families, trying to make some sort of connection. He loved doing that. And he always asked about where they lived. And then he proceeded to tell them about Buna, about the property they bought, about the people who used to live there, what they did, on and on. And he'd tell them about the local flowers, the local plants and trees, anything else they might wonder about or ask about. Van had a lot of knowledge. He had a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, including the local area, and he was more than willing to share it. Van also shared his knowledge of the Bible with his Sunday school class here in this church. He was committed to his class. He hated to miss. He was involved with the Methodist Men's Group. He helped put in the prayer garden when Mary Beth got that on her agenda. He sang with the choir. He participated in many different church activities throughout the year, and he brought a number of his friends into the church. Van loved his friends. He offered them the best thing he could by bringing them here. He loved his friends. He loved to laugh and have fun and drink coffee and play dominoes. And he had a joke or two for every situation. I imagine most of you could tell a story or two about how Van made a positive impact on your life. You could probably tell about some way your life was made better because Van Hunt was in it, or because of the way he showed you love and compassion. Unfortunately, we don't have time to tell all those stories now, but there is something we can do that'll go much more quickly. Mary Beth, could I get you to stand up? I'm going to come down there. You can stand up. I'll hold you. I'm going to just get you to stand up, and I want you to turn around, and I want you to watch this with me and the family. You may be interested in looking at this as well. I'm going to ask you all some questions, and just raise your hand if it applies, okay? If your life was made better in any way because Van Hunt was in it, please raise your hand. If you're a better person because Van Hunt was in your life, please raise your hand. If you knew Van was a man of faith, raise your hand. If he ever served you in some way, please raise your hand. If you ever in any way experienced Van's love, please raise your hand. Finally, you want to read it? No. Finally, if Van, through his words or example, helped strengthen your faith, please raise your hand. All right. I hope you saw all that, Mary Beth.
I did.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Love you too. So I want you to remember that, Mary Beth. I want you to remember that, kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. Your husband, your dad, your papa made a big difference in the lives of many people. And remember this, this is just a small sample of many people that he made an impact on their lives, because many, many more people aren't here right now who are blessed by knowing Van. And then there are many, many more people who only had a brief encounter with him, maybe one day at the campsite or maybe one day in the store, but were touched by his lives in that moment, who were blessed. And to those, we can also add many others who never met him, but were touched by the lives of people that he had touched and blessed already. Like the ripples from a stone thrown out into the middle of a pond, a life well lived can be a source of blessing for many others for a very long time. You, Mary Beth, were blessed to spend more time with him than anyone else on earth. And you kids were blessed to be raised by him. And you grandkids and great-grandkids, because of your papa's influence on you and your parents, he was part of raising you too. So y'all saw his example. You heard his advice, sometimes far more than you probably wanted to. You saw the way he served others. You know his love. You know the strength of his faith. So you, more than anyone in this room, you more than anyone on earth, have been blessed by God, because God gave Van Hunt life and put you in his life where you were able to experience his love. I found out, now you've heard that the kids and grandkids, many of them, well, they all seek to please Van. They want to follow in his footsteps, maybe walk in his shoes a little bit. And one of his grandkids is doing that very thing today. Tanner is here wearing a pair of Van Hunt's boots right now. And so that's evidence right there that they want to be like Van. WWDD. Yeah, what would Daddy do? What would Papa do? My life is better because Van was in it. Your lives are better because Van was in it. Our community is better. Our world is better because God blessed us with the good gift of Van Hunt and his life of love. I'm going to finish now with a few words about love. Jesus said his followers would be known by their love. The Bible also tells us if we know how to love, we are God's children. If we know how to love, his love is perfected in us, and others experience his love through us. According to God, from what we read in the Bible, we're here on earth to love. Do you remember what Jesus said when the man asked him what the greatest commandment was? Jesus told him, you must love. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. The most important thing you can do, the most important thing anyone can do is love. Love God and love other people. According to Jesus, that's what life on earth is all about. So this raises a good question. Do you know how to love? Do the people around you experience you as a loving person? Do they see love in the things you say and do? I hope so. I hope you're working at it. I sure am. Because those of us who know how to love, those of us who have come to know the God of love through his Son, Jesus Christ, we will never, ever die. Our bodies will, just like Van's did, but we'll go on to another form of life, a better life, a perfect life, a life in which there's no aging, illness, or disease, a life in which there's no evil, conflict, no misunderstandings, a life in which there's no lying, deception, or hatred, a life in which there's no suffering or weakness or pain or imperfection of any kind. Everything will be perfect and new, and we'll be with Jesus in his heavenly kingdom of love, where we'll live like we never have before, and we'll do it forever. Please pray with me. Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life. Today we're especially grateful for Van and the life he found in you. Thank you for the good gift of fond memories, for the good life lessons, for the way your love worked through him to make the lives of so many people better. Please help us now as we live out our lives here on earth. Fill us with your love so you can use us to make this world a better place. We ask this in the pure, precious, and powerful name of Jesus. Amen. So we've got a video right now that's going to be followed by a poem. This video was from 2002, I believe. It's an interview. It comes from an interview that Jade did with her pawpaw. She was 8 years old at the time, and we hope that you enjoy it.
I think my papa was a very interesting person. Now he's going to play us a short song on his harmonica.
Jade, I picked a song that I think maybe your classmates might have heard. It's You're My Sunshine, and I'm going to play it for you. And I hope your classmates enjoy this. And I enjoyed giving Jade this interview. She's very special to me. So I'm going to play you a little song now. And I want to show you my apron. This is my harmonica apron that my good friend I taught school with had somebody send him a picture of me, and I was Arizona, and he airbrushed this is me. Doesn't it look just like me? And he fixed it, had it made so I could carry all my harmonicas when I play at church or wherever I play. So I'm going to play You Are My Sunshine. If you want to sing with me, you can.
Can you?
Well, I think that all of you would agree. We've heard wonderful stories today, and I sat there and all of those made me think of all those wonderful times that we have had with Van. And I would think that all of us would agree that, well, these stories we've heard and seen, that Van loved the land and the great outdoors. And you know what? He made us feel that way too, didn't he? And he remind you when I visit at the house, which I had several, and very glad that I could. I remember one quick thing I'll say is that several of you talked about how it was the kind of entry into Buna. The first Sunday, Van and Mary Beth took us to the house and showed us that land that he was proud of. But he would say to us after each visit, be sure to close the gate. Okay, Mary Beth shared with me a beautiful poem with that title, Be Sure to Close the Gate. And I want to share that with you. First, though, I want to read the author's comments because I think you would like this as an introduction to that poem. The author says, I had the privilege to read this at my grandpa's funeral. He is the reason that I have a love and passion for agriculture and raising cattle. Whether you are the agriculture world or not, I hope you're able to connect with this in some way. Close the gate. For this one farmer, the worries are over. Lie down and rest your head. Your time has been and struggles enough. Put the tractor in the shed. Years were not easy, many downright hard, but your faith in God transcended. Put away your tools and sleep in peace. The fences have all been mended. You raised a fine family, worked the land well, and always followed the sun. Hang up your shovel inside the barn. Your work here on earth is done. A faith few possess led your journey through life, often a jagged and stony way. The sun is setting, the cattle all are bedded, and here and now is the end of your day. Your love of God's soil has passed on to your kin. The stories flow like fine wine. Wash off your work boots in the puddle left by the blessed rain one final time. You always believed that the good Lord would provide, and He always had somehow. Take off your gloves and put them down. No more sweat and worry for you now. Your labor is done. Your home now is heaven. No more must you wait. Your legacy lives on, your love of the land, and we will close the gate.
Thank you, Vicki. Yes, Mary Beth. All right, there are some seed packets that the grandkids or great-grandkids are going to be passing out to you on your way out. This is something that Mary Beth wanted to do. Are they for wildflowers? And so that you can take these home and plant them somewhere and remember Van, and certainly will be beautifying the earth in a way that he would certainly appreciate. So we're about to close the gate on this service. Van doesn't have to worry about closing the gate anymore. His work on earth is done. He's home in heaven. He's seen Jesus face to face. And one day we'll all be there too. Every single one of us will be there too, if we live lives of love. Amen. Thank you on behalf of the family for coming out today. God bless you. Thank you.